I got to get all my buttons pushed and knobs twisted and everything. All right. So, have you ever wondered, just wondered, where the word Ostara come from? What does it mean? Well, we've been chatting about it already a little bit this morning. So, yeah, this ought to prove to be very interesting conversation. Welcome, Open Pagan Church. And we're going to get started right after a word from our sponsor. Hey, right, yeah. I'm sponsoring Open Pagan Church. And those who have donated really help. If you want to kick in a little penny for the kitty, if you would, check out the links above. You can go to our website, or you can PayPal me direct at the email address shown there. And it's definitely appreciated. And I'll tell you, what really helps us too, if you click subscribe and click like, or click don't like and tell us why. We look forward to your input, and we like to see what you have to say. And, well, I have no idea how it works, but if someone decides that they want to sponsor Open Pagan Church, feel free, send me an email at openpaganchurch@gmail.com. That's openpaganchurch@gmail.com. Well, hey, thank you for taking a moment, and we'll return you right back to our show. All right. So, let's bring in Discord. Have a little fun. Hello, Discord.
Good morning, Don Maxwell.
Uh-oh, I got the first and the last name. I must be in trouble.
Buenos dias, Monsignor.
Always.
I think it more like comes, when am I not in trouble?
Right?
When you're sleeping, if that ever happens.
You know, he gets in trouble then too.
Oh, I get in trouble then too. Yeah, I've been reported to do some rather weird things in my sleep. Or at least my spirit has been reported to do some really weird things in my sleep. But
I hear you there.
we won't go there. Family channel, kind of. All right. So, the first thing we need to understand before we jump off into this both feet, me and the guys in Discord, by the way, you're quite welcome to join us in Discord if you like. The never expiring link is in the description of the video, so check that out. History, well, history, as we all know, and we've said it a million times on this channel, comes from his story, right? So depending on who's writing what history book where, as you're soon to see, will depend on what book you're reading. Is that right, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
So everybody keep in mind, video is on, though you're not required. So you're not required to join video. Video is engaged. But why the hell isn't my why can't I turn off it trying to grab my camera? Oh, there it is. But, duh. Technical difficulties this morning. A lot of people would say I am a technical difficulty, but that's okay. Okay, guys, let's have a little fun.
Ooh, are we jumping down the rabbit hole now?
We're gonna go down the rabbit hole of where the word. Now, we know that societies have celebrated the Ostara time, the autumnal equinox. But where did the word Ostara come from? Where did Easter come from? Why in the hell did humans have to screw it up in the first place? I'm gonna mute and let y'all have at it.
All right, well, I did a little extra research, and it seems that it goes back further, and the original name was Ishtar.
Now you're getting into the Egyptian thing, and that's been disproven.
That it went from Ishtar to Estor to Astoria to Ostara.
There is no emphatic proof to associate the Germanic holiday with the Egyptian goddess Ishtar at all. It's just
It's not the Egyptian one. It was somebody else.
or whichever the Middle Eastern.
Well,
the Middle Eastern goddess.
let's try not to get in a debate as to where what book says what where. But what have y'all read? What has been studied over this? Because we touched on it on our last broadcast and decided this would be an absolute great conversation. But I mean, Lester and Paul both just hit on a good point. It depends on what book you're reading and what you're researching.
Right.
Carry on, guys. Sorry.
The whole point of this conversation are myths and legends about the holiday Easter. Easter has been around for God knows how long, but we have some common misconception about Easter. There's the little Easter bunny that lays colored eggs and, all this. And I did some research on this, and I found out through different authors. Now there's pros and there's cons. There's people who are for the Christianized version of it. There's people who are for the paganized version of it. And there's been tons of research done on it, but you're only limited to what you can find. Research is just funny that way.
Yep.
You can't go back in time and find all the right answers because they weren't written down.
And see, that's the one thing, Lester, I always wanted to do. I don't want to change shit. I would love to go back in time and be able to dial in particular time periods and see where all of this stuff actually came from.
Or a lot of it was destroyed during religious crusades to keep the truth from being released.
True.
Our current myths and legends of Easter, and I'm not speaking about the Catholic version, the Christian version of Easter, Christ's crucifixion and resurrection. I'm not speaking of that. I'm speaking of the pagan version of Ostara.
Okay.
Our myths and beliefs come from a couple of brothers that wrote fairy tales. That Easter bunny, that was a story that was told to them by Germanic peasants as part of their myths and legends. They ran with it. From there, it ran on its own.
Lester, think about how many of today's belief systems come from the Grimm brothers and their
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them.
So-called fairy tales.
We were just focusing on Easter because of the time of the year.
Oh, I know, yeah, but it just fascinates me when you start looking at it, at how much of an impact the Grimm stories, and there is, you look at the Grimm stories, the Grimm tales,
The real Grimm tales.
the real Grimm tales, yeah, there ain't nothing fairy tale about that shit. Right, carry on, sorry.
The point I was trying to make was that, you know, trying to research pagan history is damn near impossible. I mean, you can get some and you can get a basis of what it was like, but as far as actually taking a story, a belief system, and bringing it all the way back to its origins is virtually impossible, because a lot of these started out before there was a written record, and it gets passed down verbally. Well, we all know the little project that they started in school, where they would give you a little sentence on one end of the classroom, and you had to turn around and whisper it to the one behind you. And by the time it got all the way around the classroom and that last person spoke it out loud, it was totally different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the game of telephone.
Yeah, yeah.
And can I interject real quick? You guys keep calling it the autumnal equinox, and it's actually the vernal equinox.
Vernal
autumnal
equinox.
is vernal, or autumnal is autumn.
That's right, that's right. I told y'all I had a brain like Swiss cheese.
I just figured it passed by.
No, hell, carry on, man. If I use an incorrect term, set me up, because I'm all about learning.
But when I started doing the research on Ostara, trying to find out if she was actually a goddess, and where the Easter Bunny legend came from, and all that good happy horse shit, I found out there was two factions. There's the academic sections, and then there's the pagan section. The pagans will tend to write down what they feel is the right answer. The academic will follow that rabbit down that hole until they get lost, and then it becomes
right.
rhetorical.
Yep, and then of course if they can't reach a particular needle point, most of them will make something up.
Right. And this all started because of a Christian monk back in the 8th century that stated that there was a goddess that was associated with the pagan festival of spring, Ostara. And I can't pronounce what the pagan festival is called because it's their name, but it's Germanic, and, well, I don't read German. I don't speak German. But the whole point is, sometimes our concept of what these holidays are just made up, because we have no physical proof of where they came from. We know it in our spirit and in our heart that this is being celebrated throughout the world, but it's not so much the actual putting your finger on it. This came from this country, this started out with this goddess. It's not so much that. It's how you celebrate it inside yourself that really counts.
Right.
But interesting to learn where those misconceptions came from, where those stories came from, where the research will lead you. And being the research fanatic that I am, I enjoy the hell out of a good dig.
Every once in a while, I enjoy the hell out of just jumping off as deep as I can into that rabbit hole.
So when the books are kind of hard to come by, but when I got online and started doing research, I was finding the nays and the yays, and the arguments for, the arguments against, the arguments to combine. It can get confusing now. Don't get me wrong; it can get really confusing.
Yeah, because you find yourself going into a circle.
Right, you keep just like a cat chasing his tail. You never catch the damn thing, but you just keep running.
Right, right.
But it's I don't know. For me, it's the ultimate goal is to do the research. Not that the research is going to amount to shit anyway. Because
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong
I'm not
with
gonna be writing a
education.
book about Easter anytime soon.
Right. But you can never go wrong with education until you put education above common sense.
So, when you're sitting there and you're watching your TV shows and your interesting movies like American Gods, and you're wondering where these gods come from, because there's been a couple of them that in the Norse tradition that a lot of people have never heard of. I've done the research and I've seen that there was a certain god that the god of war in the Norse tradition. It was not Odin. Odin was the leader of the gods.
Right.
There was the one that had his hand bit off by Fenrir. The concept that they put him as was he would take a tooth and he was a dentist. So the first thing I thought of was, oh God, that's the Norse god tooth fairy. But it's not. He was kind of like Odin's brother in the sense that he was the god of war. Him and Odin would always be together in the beginning.
Right, right.
But just going through all these gods, because that's the first time I've ever seen anything done besides the Avengers and all that,
Right.
But it's the first time I've ever seen anything done on TV about the Norse gods,
Well,
with the exception of Thor and Loki and all that.
right, right. And of course, praise be, we all know everything that's on TV is real, isn't it?
Right.
Don't believe everything you read or see.
We all know that Marvel Comics is history.
It is for some of us.
It is to an 8-year-old.
Right.
I grew up reading the Marvel comics about Thor, Odin, and all of them, and the Avengers, you say. And when I watch these shows, it's like, y'all got so much of this wrong. No.
You just have no idea the crush that boys of my time span and Lester's time span, the crush that was had on Wonder Woman.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't even go there, because I had a crush on Wonder Woman too.
Yeah, see, what I'm talking about is, but we were watching the first runs of Wonder Woman, trying not.
Linda what? Linda Carter.
Linda Carter, yeah.
She was one hot chick, let me tell you.
Yeah, I don't care to remember how many drool spots I had to pick up off of my chin, but anyway, oh boy.
Going off on a side track with me.
Well, yeah, see, I could go off on, yep, yeah.
Let's not go off on that tangent at all.
Yeah, no, let's not go down that one. Or up it as it would be.
The point I was trying to come across was that, we grew up with these stories through comic books, and it piqued our interest.
Right.
So some of us chose to just ignore that interest and continue on our merry way. And people like me said, no, this is interesting, but I want to know more.
Yeah.
So you start researching. I've been researching for, oh Lord, since I was a child.
Yeah.
I read the encyclopedia, World Book Encyclopedia from A to Z when I was 5 years old. They called me a bookworm even at that age.
I'm right there with you. My parents made sure that I had the brand new set of Encyclopedia Britannicas A through Z, plus all the classic tales that came with it.
Yep. And I mean, growing up, we had the complete set of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Now, my bad reading comprehension self was not fixing to try to sit down and read the damn thing. But when I had a question, or I look it up, you know, we had, in fact, somewhere in my family stuff, if y'all can believe this, I have an original Webster dictionary. I don't remember the date that's on it, but this thing is like 3 inches thick and it is huge. It's one of the original Webster's dictionary.
Oh, I got one for that too.
That was passed down through the family. I don't know how many damn generations it came down, but I know I've got it wrapped up in wax paper somewhere. But you know, and this really actually brings to a good point. History is only as good as the technology of the time to be able to document the truth.
Right.
And we think about, and what always comes to mind, and it's just, this is one of those things that really always chapped my cojones, is how many priests lost their heads to write the King James version of the Bible the way King James wanted it written. How many priests died to write the most popular book on the planet, the King James Bible?
I don't think they died. I just think they got excommunicated.
There were several of them that got decapitated.
Were there?
Yeah.
No, that's not the way I want it wrote.
No. No. See, you're not going to do it that way. So whack. But you know and poor Ostara, man. I mean, Yule and Christmas doesn't get as much of a debate as Samhain and Ostara gets. You know, you think about the debates of Samhain, it's the holiday of the devil. No, it's not.
The dead.
Right, but I mean, that's, yeah. But I mean, the Day of the Dead has been celebrated since way before. We're talking about Mesopotamian times in the clay tablets where they talked about their celebrations and holidays that line up. Now, get a hold to your seat, folks. Even the Mesopotamians celebrated the changes of the seasons.
Well, every culture celebrated the change of the season. It's because they were agrarian. They lived off the land.
But that's the whole point to the whole thing. Religious society was built on the backs of the people that truly gave thanks to Mother Earth for the change of the seasons.
Yep.
I mean, anybody with 10 cents worth of intelligence, other than flat Earth theorists, we know that the Earth wobbles. You know, she spins like a top, and a wobbling top at that. That gives us the seasons. Of course, you know, Paul, Cindy, are y'all still there? I think they're still working on their mics, bless their heart. No, can't hardly hear you at all. I've got
How
you
about
at, there you are. Well, yep.
Yep, I'm here.
I wanted to make sure you guys weren't,
He's frustrated with the mic situation. I'm going to work on it during the week. So
all right.
each can have a mic.
Well, if you need to meet up with me at some point while I'm uploading videos on Discord, hell, let me know.
I'm going to order a portable mic that can hook to my computer, but I can use my mic and my headset too. Is that feasible?
Well, of course it's feasible. I do it. You just have to remember to go into Windows and disable every microphone other than the microphone you specifically want to use.
Okay, we'll work on it.
Right?
I can come over during the week.
Okay, I gotta buy one first.
So, I'm sorry, I can't hear what he's saying anyway. So, you know, it's always fascinated me how the human race, most especially nowadays, okay, they make up religious fact as they go along. Take paganism, for example. You can teach what paganism is in 90 seconds. People still don't believe that. Yeah, I can tell you everything you need to know about paganism in 90 seconds.
I can do it in less than that. I can do it in one sentence.
Right. But I tend to get a little wordy. Not that anybody knows that.
No, not at all.
But now you start talking about the denominations, the branches, the trees and the limbs and the leaves that come off of the tree of life of paganism. Holy crap, people, we would be here long after I'm dead and gone, still discussing all of the pagan theologies and philosophies.
We wouldn't even make it past the roots before I died, and I'm the youngest one in the room.
True.
Same goes with Christianity.
Yeah,
Amen, brother, amen.
Yeah, right, you know, but you know, it just, you know, granted, we're talking about the history of Ostara, but at the end of the day, you can't talk about any history of any holiday without always coming back to the same exact point of view. The history of every holiday depends on what religion you were raised in, what religion you follow, what books you read, and nowadays what website you go on. Oh my God, there is so much disinformation on freaking websites. People want to take your money. You know,
Don't even get me started on Wikipedia. Oh no.
Well,
No, I try to stay away from Wikipedia.
Wikipedia sometimes is good for quick grab crap, right? You know, it gives you a starting point, and a lot of people that post in Wikipedia do post links to where they got their information from. and I just start going down from there. If I've got a bee in my bonnet and I really want to take something all the way to the nth degree, to be honest, after 2 hours of looking at Ostara, I said to hell with it. I mean, hell, I was getting cross-eyed and yeah, no, I went back to watching YouTube videos. Hell with this, shit's giving me a headache.
I'm like an old dog with a bone, bruh.
Oh, I know, dude. I know. And you have no idea how much I wish I could be like, people that can actually sit down and digest a book. I would absolutely love to be able to do that. So, I find as much as I can on audio books and as much as I can on, don't shoot me, but as much as I can on YouTube videos. And I take everybody's opinion and I listen to spirit, or what common sense I have left. My problem is I don't take much of anything at face value. I mean,
that was the point that I was trying to make, is that no matter how much research you do, it all boils down to what you feel inside.
Yeah.
Truly believe you.
Yep.
Now, do I believe that there's a little white bunny running around laying colored eggs? No, I don't think so.
Aw, you just busted my dream, Lester.
There is no such thing as an Easter bunny that can deliver me a chocolate basket.
Well,
sorry to break your kid's heart.
Oh, hold on, I got a question. Okay, so speaking about the Easter bunny, does anybody actually know the origin of why they chose a rabbit?
Because Ostara, the goddess Ostara, was the goddess of spring. Spring is the time of rebirth. We all know that rabbits regenerate real fast. And
oh boy, do they.
But the story behind the hare and the egg is that she had a chariot that was flown by birds, okay? And one of the birds fell and broke its wings. She felt so bad for the bird that she turned the bird into a rabbit. And in thanks for saving its life and giving it a new life, it continued to lay eggs, but it would lay colored eggs as a gift to her. Because anything that you find on Ostara is that the egg is a representation of fertility, rebirth. So by chance the rabbit got put in for that. That answer your question? Or did I
almost. No, you got it almost perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it thank you for joining in, Debbie. Debbie's essentially saying the same thing, is, Ostara is fertility, spring, new life, new beginnings. The Mother Earth, at least in our part of the region, is waking up, where Ostara in other regions, the mother's going to sleep. So, like when it's summer or when it's summer here, it's winter in Australia. So my question would be, and I've never actually looked this up, do Australians have an Ostara?
Well, I'm sure that the indigenous tribes, as we call them, Aborigines, would have some form of celebration for the awakening that happens when we go into fall, they're going into spring. I'm pretty sure that they have some kind of celebration to bring back the life to the earth.
Right, right. But I often wonder if people that live on opposite seasonal opposite seasonal opposite seasons from us here, do they call the holidays the same name, just celebrate them differently? I know Australians celebrate, well, Christian Australians celebrate Christmas, but it's summer.
I don't know, but I can check on that because I have a bunch of Australian friends on my game.
And you know, let me read here. Of course, you know, Debbie is from Scotland. She's studied for you, those of you that don't know, she has studied British history firsthand, of course. So she says, plus, the lovely Victorians turned the egg into the symbol of the cave. At the opening of the cave, they put Christ's body into. Rolling the egg equals moving the stone and allowing Christ to emerge. And she goes on to say, the Victorians made a lot of stuff up.
I read that in the what book was it? It's Christian Myths and Legends.
Yeah. Yeah. But Debbie goes on to say, you know, seasons aside, the equinoxes and solstices are the same date time as of Tamatapa, Aboriginal people, you know. Well, Debbie called her Cindy, but that was Sabs that said that. Would have their own celebration, you know. Yeah, and you know, that kind of goes along with what we were talking about. You know, the earth, she kind of wobbles, right? And we're quite grateful she does wobble, because we wouldn't have life as we know it without the wobble, right? And you know, I'm gonna have to say it. I've been trying not to say it, but damn it, I'm just gonna have to throw it out there. One of the questions I always ask flat earth theorists is, okay, tell me how the earth controls the seasons.
They look at you like you're crazy.
They look at you like you're crazy because they don't have an answer. Now, I did have one say, well, it's still a flat disc and it still turns. And that flat disc does wobble, giving us our seasons. Oh, dude, you have no idea.
Yeah, there's so many pages about the Earth being flat. There's more pages that I have found about the Earth being flat than there is about what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I suppose they think that the moon landing was done in a soundstage in California.
Absolutely.
Nope. We didn't go to the
Here's
moon.
another
That
good
was
that this Earth is hollow, and there's a tunnel that goes all the way through the middle.
Yeah, that
yeah. They're good. That goes the myth that you can. Well, that just proves that people are sheep, but we're not gonna get into that. That you can, if you started digging right now, it would take you 17 centuries to dig a hole from where you sit right now all the way to China.
Okay, let's think about.
It depends on where you're sitting as to where you'll wind up. You'll wind
Exactly.
Well, folks, you're not gonna wind up anywhere.
You're gonna end up in a pool of molten lava.
After a couple of 1,000 feet, your ass is gonna turn to dust.
Yup.
And that, I love to say, is an absolute proven scientific fact, not only from scientists, and I worked in the oil field in the 80s, but people who drill for oil.
Yep. You get down too far, c'est tout fini, yeah.
You get down too far, you gonna melt some shit.
Okay. I got one for you guys to look up.
Okay.
The drilling company in Russia started drilling as far as they could. They got to a certain point, and they pulled the drill out, and they said that they heard voices like the pit from hell, and they sealed it up and never went any farther.
You know, it's amazing what the old well diggers heard as gas spewed from a well.
Yep. But I forget exactly what the depth is. Do research on farthest depth drilled in Russia, and it'll give you information about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like Debbie said, the deeper you dig, the hotter it gets. And I mean, come on, miners, coal miners, gold miners, all of the miners throughout the annals of time have said the deeper they get, the hotter it gets, because the closer you get to the mantle of the earth.
Yep.
Well, what?
On the man.
Right. But you know, okay, so let kind of sort of swing back on topic here while we still have some time left. Not that we ever digress. But the one thing that I haven't heard anybody mention or say in this whole conversation of Ostara, on the equinoxes, when the magnetic pull of the poles shift ever so slightly, has more of an effect on human beings and many other animals than a full moon does. Anybody want to comment on that little titty?
Every year.
Yes.
It happened, the poles have moved numerous times in the years since the Earth has been around.
Well, they've proven many times that the poles have flipped. The North Pole becomes the South Pole, and the South Pole becomes the North Pole. They've proven that in geological samples, but keeping it more on a human aspect and how the equinoxes and the solstices
Well,
have an effect on humans.
well, it's all going to bring you back to what it does to the earth, it does to the moon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was watching the show, and if anybody knows me, they know what show I watch. They were talking about potentially it could happen that the pole would shift and the equator would go through Chicago.
That's a possibility.
Can you imagine? I mean, what do you think that's going to do to humans? It's going to shift the populace around on the planet. It's not like it's going to take and shove the people, but people are going to start to migrate away from areas that they don't like because of the change, which is going to shift the populace.
Right. But
So,
If there's still a populace alive to shift.
well, there's that.
well, and okay, Ostara is an equinox, right? An equinox means day and night is the same for a moment, right?
Yep.
Is my old Swiss cheese memory remembering that correct?
Yep.
I know for me, and the history that I have had watching people all of my life, and most especially since '99 when I really started getting into having the circles and the sabbaths and admitting who and what I was, blah, blah, blah. But I noticed a subtle change in people's attitude, people's emotions, people's personality with the change more so of the equinox, but also on the solstices. Blech. And Ostara I found Ostara has always been a big one. Any thoughts?
No, I'd have to look that up.
With Ostara, like everybody says, it's the beginning, and you actually wake up, brighten up, and your attitude changes because you're more vibrant during that time.
Well, so what, and I don't want to go real far down this question because I think I've come up with a really good topic that's really going to jump down the rabbit hole of theory and conspiracy theories. But what effect, not in research, not in reading, what effect have you guys seen equinoxes have on people and animals?
Well, equinoxes, or mainly the time of the stars.
Equinoxes. Both of them.
There's only 2 equinoxes.
I know they would have, I think because of the difference in time of year, it would have a different, like during the spring equinox, animals become
Hornier?
yeah,
Sorry.
Right, yeah,
That just blurted out. I apologize.
Well, and in the fall equinox, you see them starting to store food.
Prepare for hibernation, which happens for the 3 months that happens that is winter.
Right. So that's a change in behavior. Humans.
Well, we tend to do the same thing. I mean, come springtime, we get giddy. We want to get outside and do work in the yard, cut the grass, and plant the garden, and mess around with the flowers, and go walking in the trees, and
mess around with the old lady.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but and in fall, we get ready, we prepare for ourselves for the coming winter because we know that it's going to be cold, it's going to be dark, and we're not going to be able to do the things we like to do.
Yep.
Unless, of course, you live in Southeast Texas.
Well, yeah. Well, Southwest Louisiana, too, but,
Yeah, well, North Central Texas as well. But anywhere you live, animals, including humans, animals feel the equinox change in the poles of what Mother Earth is doing. And for some people,
mood swings.
Yeah, and it affects some people a hell of a lot worse than it does some others. I can't hear you. I'm sorry, Cindy, I still can't hear you.
She said it's just like Thomas gets grouchy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And I like what Debbie says here. She says extra daylight affects the pineal gland, which makes the animals more interested in the procreation of the species.
Yep. In many regions, you get more sunshine, you get more vitamin E, you feel more woo, like Lester said a while ago, and so you just want to woo everywhere.
You get giddy.
and you know, I've always really loved Ostara. You know, science aside, research aside, if a person realizes, now, here's an important thing, your ass has got to stop long enough to realize something bigger than you is happening. And, you know, there's not a lot of people out there these days that think anything bigger than themselves is happening. Debbie says, I like the worship of chocolate.
Hey, we did a diaper rit, remember that?
Yep, we did a chocolate ritual a lot of years ago. And I think, Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was on or about Ostara.
Yes, it was. Kim Richards made sure it was on the chart.
Because we were all stressed out of our minds, and I think, if memory serves, I think Sandy was the one that came up with the idea of a chocolate ritual, or who was that?
Kim Richards.
It was Kim. Okay, all right.
Did it, and she was the goddess that led it. All her little things. Everything at the altar had to pertain to chocolate.
You know, somewhere on my server, I'm going to have to, I guess, share it on Facebook.
Yeah, you have pictures. I have pictures. I lost them.
Yeah, somewhere on my server, I've got one picture of that Ostara where I think it was Cammie that took the photograph of all of us covered with chocolate.
Yeah, I was in the shower washing it off because I was diabetic and my sugar went up to 400.
Yeah, it did.
No.
Yeah, it did. So, you know, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think, and I don't know, I think we can kind of draw to a close on this one. At the end of the day, if people slowed down and they slowed down just enough to realize the absolute wonder of the planet that we are so lucky to have. And I think if they paid attention just a little bit, it doesn't take a whole lot, because it's an actual event that happens. Some people are just too stuck up their own butts to see it or feel it. But if you let yourself feel what Mother Earth is doing, you will know the equinoxes are coming. I'm horrible with dates, and I usually start to feel it about a week before. Some people maybe a little more, a little less, but whatever. And the solstices, I am really drawn to Samhain. It's one of my favorite holidays, and Yule is probably my most favorite holiday. But if you slow down just enough, it's not going to be as big a deal as turning on a light in a dark room. But it's just a little bit of a tug or a nudge or a subconscious feeling during Ostara. I feel a little more energetic. Like Lester said, I feel like I want to go out and do something. A lot of people just call it cabin fever. Well, since the beginning of 2020, everybody knows cabin fever.
Amen to that.
But if you just slow down, feel what the Mother is doing, pay attention to the very planet that you take advantage of. It's an amazing sight to watch Mother Earth change seasons.
Especially if you live in New England.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have anything they want to drop?
You partial to Samhain? I'm kind of partial to Beltane.
Yeah. Well, That's your birthday, isn't it, bruh? Yeah, May 2nd, right? It's not actually May 1st, but May 2nd.
Well, midnight May 1st, we celebrated it on the 2nd because Mama and Daddy's anniversary was on
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah. Well, Beltane's just around the corner. I can tell you in my world, there's going to be an absolute ass boatload of changes happening the day of Beltane, and if I feel like it, I'll do a video on that later once decisions are made. But yeah,
That was perfect.
that could not have been timed any better. Because yeah, that's going to be Beltane for me this year. But anyway, you know, as always, guys, thank you for watching our broadcast and our pre-recorded broadcast. Hell, you don't have to talk or chat or anything to listen in, and well, you damn sure don't have to be pagan to join us. We're essentially just a talk show. You know, if you think about it, Open Pagan Church is a talk show. We talk about all kinds of things that may not actually be pagan, but they kind of have a root in paganism somewhere, somehow, along the line, I think. Ha! Anyway, thank you for watching. Enjoy your day and your week, or whatever. We'll see you next time, right here on Open Pagan Church.